Hey, what's up everybody, Retro Gaming Guy here. So I've been hearing a whole lot about this RetroBeast Mini 4TB PC setup here on YouTube for quite a while now. Finally decided to get my own copy of this, and that's what we're going to dive into in this video. So this is a massive collection of games, emulators, just about everything you can imagine should be included on this. It comes on a 4TB hard drive, connects to your PC via USB 3 connection. I'm going to be plugging it into my HP Pavilion gaming PC, which has just a massive amount of power to it, tons of capabilities, so we shouldn't have any shortcomings there. And we'll be able to launch it through Windows 11 today, which I think is really cool. You don't have to go into your BIOS and adjust your boot order or anything like that. You can fire it up right from Windows 11 or Windows 10, whatever you have. So we're going to dive into that, but before we do, hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop for all future videos here on the Retro Gaming Guy YouTube channel. But let's wait no further, let's dive into it. All right, so here is our Seagate 4TB hard drive, and right here you can see we have a USB 3 connection. So all we have to do is plug this into the USB port on our PC. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to be using my HP Pavilion gaming PC in order to do this today. All right, so here we are jumping into the RetroBeast Mini 4TB hard drive. So we land on Arcade Classic. That's going to be all of our arcade games gathered together. If we go to the right, you can see we land on Game Console. That's going to be all of our game console collections, followed by handheld games, followed by Pinball Machine, followed by Computer, followed by Games Book Manual. And then we have some custom collections here, followed by Settings, and then we land on the power button. That's going to be what we press to shut this down when we're done. So you can see we've got some great graphics in the background, some really awesome music playing in the background as well. Now let's jump into our collection. So we're going to kick everything off with Arcade Classic here. We can dive into this. This is MAME. Look at those graphics there. Look at the background. That is so cool to see. Such a well-polished setup here. I'm immediately drawn to WrestleFest down there in the bottom row. One of my favorite arcade titles from the 90s. So many great titles here being displayed. You're just immersed in nostalgia right off the bat. So this is our MAME collection. We'll jump into this one, and you can see how everything populates in. We have a text list on the right that actually shows us the logo for each title. But notice on the left-hand side, we have this arcade cabinet. It's not only showing us a video preview of every single title, but it also populates in the graphics onto the control deck, as well as onto the top of the cabinet there. So you can see, as we scroll down, it changes for every single one. So it customizes that cabinet for every single title. So we're going to scroll down here a ways just to see, how many titles are on here. But if you take a look at the bottom right corner, you can see we're scrolling away, but there's 3,628 titles in this collection. So it's absolutely massive. You can go down here and find your favorite titles and see how they populate in. So I'm going to do just that. Let's go down a ways. I'll skip ahead a little bit. I just got to see one of my favorite titles as well, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That takes me back right there to the original arcade cabinet. Look at how that populates in beautifully down there on the control board, as well as up at the top there. Just so cool to see all this stuff. The attention to detail here is just absolutely insane. Really incredible. So we're going to back out of this collection, and I'm not going to jump into every single one because they are all individually laid out very differently with different graphics, but you can see we have MAME favorites. That's just going to be all the favorites from the MAME collection. 4-player games, which is broken down really nicely, so you can find titles that include 4 players. And you can use this on a arcade setup too. You don't have to use this just as like a home console sort of setup playing on your TV screen. But we have tons and tons and tons of different collections within arcade. Multiplayer, adult games. So if you're going to be playing with your kids, avoid this collection because it's a little bit adult. We'll continue on. MAME clones. We have kids to adults. Tons and tons and tons of collections that are really cool because you can find beat 'em up games. You can just further explore all these titles here through the sub collections. Racer games, 3D gamer, sports games, stuff from Atari, stuff from different developers. Capcom classics, Capcom 1, 2, and 3 are in here. Cave's in here. Data East is in here. Just, again, great ways to further explore the collection here. Midway Games, Neo Geo, just any and every possibility can be found in here, which is really cool. Now, there's also some collections that I think, really resonate with me, and that's light gun games here. There's tons of light gun games, so we'll actually jump into this collection just because I want to see what we have in here. And again, take a look at the graphics on the arcade cabinet there. Another title here that takes me back. Carnival is an awesome one too. Hands look like mine there. I'm digging it. Gotta check out Jurassic Park. How about Lethal Enforcers? You can get lost just checking out the graphics on these arcade cabinets. I just absolutely love what we've got going on here. So cool. I haven't seen such attention to detail on any other builds. All right, we'll continue on here. We have a Thomas Wave here, which there's some amazing titles in here. We'll actually take a look at this one too, because this is another one of the collections that I'm most excited about on here. Bass Fishing Challenge, really cool game. I remember playing that.
Welcome to the world of
Lots of great stuff in here. Rumblefish, Metal Slug 5. So we'll back out. Now we also have Model 2 and Model 3 from Sega on here. These are chock full of amazing titles. I grew up in the arcade, so Daytona USA, USA Deluxe, Dead or Alive. We also have Dynamite Cop in here. But House of the Dead is a classic as well. What else do we have in here? Just going down memory lane at this point. Sonic Championship was pretty cool. Virtual Cop 1 and 2. And let's take a look at Model 3 now, because Model 3 has a lot of amazing titles. Daytona 2, we have both versions. We have Battle on the Edge, and we also have the Power Edition here. Now, this right here, Dirt Devils, was a game that I tried to get up and running on Botacera for the longest time. Never had great luck with it. This works perfectly. This was actually the first game that I dove into personally on here. Awesome experience. Harley Davidson games here. What else do we have? Get Bass. Ski Champ, awesome title as well. Star Wars Trilogy Arcade, probably one of my top 5 favorite arcade games. The Ocean Hunter, really cool game. Underwater Shooter, Lost World, awesome. Then we have Virtua Fighter games here, Virtua Striker games, tons of great stuff from Sega. So we're going to back out of the arcade collection because we have just barely scratched the surface here. So let's go over to console collections. So we'll let this load in real quick. And inside here, we're just going to scroll through here. I'm not going to jump into every single one again because I don't want to be here till tomorrow, but take a look at what we have going on. We have 46 collections within here. Atari 2600, 5200, 7800, ColecoVision, Dreamcast Indies, which is a pretty cool collection. We'll jump in here real quick. So a lot of indie titles here. We'll back out. Now we have Dreamcast, the main collection, which is one of my favorite collections in all honesty. 317 titles in here. You can see how everything's laid out. So let's go through and let's find a good title that I really enjoyed on here. One of my favorites. There, you can't go wrong with Crazy Taxi. Really awesome how that populates in. Crazy Taxi 2, of course, as well. Daytona USA. Some ECW here. And if we actually launch the game, you can see how it'll actually load in. So most of the titles that I've come across so far, not all of them, most are stretched to 16:9 aspect ratio, which I think is what most people would want to enjoy these on, but you can of course adjust that if you'd like. Check out the graphics though, really crisp graphics here. And we're not going to jump into this game. I'll do some gameplay demos at the end of this video. But just take a look at how awesome everything looks on here, just on the initial screen. So I am going to exit out of here with the hotkey. We'll back out of the Dreamcast collection. Here we have Nintendo GameCube, checked out some of these as well, and I will dive into some at the end of this video once again. Everything's in alphabetical order. Love that we can also have the box art in the background, so we're not just choosing from a text list or a logo. We get everything together here, which just creates an awesome experience. So back out of that. How many actually for GameCube? 638 titles for GameCube. That's a massive GameCube collection. So continuing on, we have Sega Genesis over here. We have some additional Genesis classics, Intellivision, Jaguar, Neo Geo. Just great titles here. Nintendo 64 disk drive, which is a more rare one, but I've been seeing that pop up more lately. Regular Nintendo 64. Let's take a look at regular Nintendo 64. 299 titles in here. Love the graphics on here and the surrounding characters there around the screen. So just taking this one in because it looks like we have Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hollywood Hogan here for WrestleMania 2000, which Hollywood Hogan would have been with WCW then. So I'm just taking that one in there. Maybe this is a mod video preview here. It's definitely a WWF game by the signs in the background there. It looks right other than that, but interesting. That's just the scrape data though. So we'll continue on. Really awesome. You can honestly just get lost in here going down memory lane. So we'll back out of N64. Here we have NES. We have NES Classic Edition, PC Engines over here, Duck Station, which is really cool. I recommend checking that one out. Regular PlayStation. We'll jump into regular PlayStation quick. See how everything's laid out here. Love the original PlayStation console graphic there with the original PlayStation controller. Backing out of PlayStation though, we'll go over to PS2. Inside PS2, how many games do we have in here? I'm curious. 466 titles for PS2. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And this is the layout within. So you can see each collection does differ in appearance. Now we'll go over to PS3. Now PS3 games take up a lot of space, so I'm definitely interested to see how many PS3 titles we have. So we'll let this collection load in. 185, that's a massive collection for PS2. So we've got Afterburner Climax there. Street Fighter 2, the HD remix. Just kind of scroll through here. Now, this game is pretty sweet here. I actually tried to get this one up and running on Botticero a while back, and I just couldn't get it. It was really laggy. We're definitely having some performance issues with this title, so I'd be interested. I'll actually jump into this title when we do our gameplay demos at the end of this video. Just interested to see how that performs on this particular setup. But lots of great titles here. Monkey Island 2 Special Edition. That is a cool one there. If you grew up in the 90s like me, you may have played that on PC, but this version is pretty sweet too. The price is right. Can't go wrong there. So we'll continue on. We have minis here. So there's some awesome titles in this collection. We'll continue on. Got our Sega collections here. So 32X, Sega CD, Mark III, Master System, Sega Saturn. Sega Saturn's a fun collection to dive into. 287 titles in here. Cool layout as well. 3D Baseball. Love that game. I used to have that for PlayStation 1. Go up here. Love classic wrestling games too. So much fun. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, to be able to play those games, it's just a lot of fun. So we'll back out. SG-1000. We have Super Nintendo here. How many Super Nintendo titles do we have? 787. Pretty sweet there. Backing out, we'll continue on. We have Super Nintendo Classic Edition, looks like. Yep, Super Graphics. Lots of great stuff. Turbo Graphics. Virtual Boys over here. Now, Wii U is here. How many titles for Wii U? Wii U Emulation is pretty sweet. 27 titles here. So, oftentimes we do find some limitations here, but I'm definitely going to jump into some titles for the gameplay demo portion of this video, see what the performance is like on this. Love the graphics there, though. Love the Wii U controller at the bottom. Here we have original Xbox coming up next. How many titles inside here? 85 titles. Looks like some good stuff. Simpsons Road Rage was a good one. Italian Job. Some tennis games. Oddly enough, I was just packaging up this title right here, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. So pretty cool titles to have access to on here. Ninja Gaiden Black is an awesome title. So back out. Now we have 360 on here. Xbox 360 can be a nightmare to emulate, but with this particular setup here, I do believe it works well. So we're going to definitely be picking through some games on this collection for our gameplay demo portion of this video. 81 titles in here. We've got some Angry Bird titles. Let's just kind of scroll through here briefly. Wheel of Fortune. Elder Scroll games. Some SpongeBob. Saints Row. What else do we have? Wonder if we have, oh, this is a good game, NBA Jam. They put those out, I want to say 2011 that came out. I have that actually on my Xbox account. Love that title. Hulk Hogan Main Event here. I recently found out about that game. I never played that early on. We've got Halo 3 here, 2 different versions of it. Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas. Game of Thrones. Didn't even know there was a Game of Thrones game, in all honesty. Fusion Frenzy, Farming Simulator. Never got into those. My stepson was actually asking for one of those not long ago. DuckTales here from Disney. So pretty cool titles. Got some Capcom up here. So we're going to back out because we still aren't done yet. We're still just scratching the surface with this setup. So backing out, we're going to get out of collections altogether. That was all that we have to offer here inside of console collections, but jam-packed with titles. So let's go back, because there's even more than that. We have handheld games here. So let's take a look at what we have for handheld games. We have Lynx, we have Game & Watch from Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. Let's go into Game Boy Color. Love the layout here. Love the yellow Game Boy Color, where the video previews populate into the screen. 575 titles for Game Boy Color. Here we have original Game Boy coming up next. We have Game Gear here, Neo Geo Pocket, Pocket Color, DS. How many DS games do we have inside of here? We have, oh wow, 2,102. I was never a big fan of Nintendo DS, in all honesty. I kind of missed that one. But I know that there's a huge number of people that are into Nintendo DS emulation. So if you are, they've got you covered here. So we'll back out. We have Pokemon Mini. We have PSP. What do we have for PSP in here? 362 titles for PSP. Now, I saw Nintendo Switch, and I didn't see it in home consoles, but it makes sense that it would be in here with handhelds. So we got to check this out. We'll definitely jump into some titles here. I know that Switch emulation can be very limiting, but let's kind of just glance at what we have for games here. These seem to be smaller, slightly more basic games from what I'm seeing. Yeah, I'd say pretty much all of these, for the most part, are like re-released games, or not really what we think of when we talk about, Nintendo Switch. We're not seeing any like really recent titles from what I can see anyways. All right, so we'll back out of that. So we have Wonder Swan Color, Wonder Swan, and we are back to where we started with Lynx. So we're going to back out again. And I believe the next one was Pinball. Yep, Pinball. So I actually have a virtual pinball machine, and I'm very familiar with Pinball FX2 and 3. We also have Pinball Collection here. We could jump into Pinball Collection real quick just to take a quick peek. So here you can find a bunch of pinball games in here. So we have some stuff from PlayStation, just lots of great stuff in here. So really cool to be able to explore this further. You can see all of these are basically video games that were, pinball related, which there was a lot. There was a lot of Pokemon Pinball. That was a fun one. There's Austin Powers. I remember they had a Kiss. Oh, the Pinball of the Dead. I didn't even know that existed. That looks pretty interesting. I'll have to check that out. What else do we have here? I found there was a Motley Crue one, which I never even knew existed. Played that the other day. But lots of really cool stuff here. Metroid Prime Pinball. I remember Kiss Pinball. That was definitely an interesting one. If you're a Kiss fan, you got to check that out. So we'll back out, but this is where I find the best titles. Probably Pinball FX3, but let's take a look at 2 real quick. If you're into pinball, you're going to love this stuff. Check out these pinball tables. These are all made through either Pinball FX2 or 3. But I have these actually on my virtual pinball machine, and the Alien ones are really cool. There's some Walking Dead. Star Wars ones are absolutely insane. Take a look at the graphics here. And we'll jump into some of these as well in, again, the gameplay portion of this. But Return of the Jedi is probably one of my favorites. There's also a Han Solo one. And take a look at the actual board there. So it's totally interactive. Graphics are absolutely amazing. The Han Solo one's pretty cool too. And you can just kind of tour the table here as the camera pulls back. And this is how usually each of the games will start. And then when you launch the ball, the camera goes up from there. So there's a Boba Fett one here too. Just absolutely insane. So we'll back out of FX2. We'll go into 3. Same deal here. Really cool interactive ones. Predator, there's a couple of those. Couple of Alien ones. Back to the Future. Really cool one for Back to the Future here. Love that they have the background beyond just the pinball table too. What else do we have? This was a really cool one right here. Creature of the Black Lagoon. So a lot of these are played off of original cabinets too, so it kind of just brings them into modern day. The Jaws one is really cool. Take a look at Jurassic Park though. There's actually, I think, 2 or 3 Jurassic Parks. That one's like a throwback. This one's Jurassic World, I believe. Yep, Jurassic World. Awesome stuff here. So we're going to back out of pinball altogether. We're not done yet, though. We've got computer. So let's take a look at computer. So lots of different things going on here. Can go through each of these. So this one I'm not as familiar with. This one looks like it's more of just all of our titles here, but it does say the collection it belongs to across the top there. So pretty cool. A lot of this stuff was before my time. And there's 4,053 titles in here you could see in the bottom right corner. So we'll back out of this collection. And now I got to check out what game's book manual is. Interesting. So I guess we can scroll through. Let me find one that... Do they have N64 in here by any chance? They do. All right. Now we got to go up to one of my favorite titles, WCW NWO Revenge. So if we open this up, I just want to see what this is all about. So we can literally scroll through all the pages here. That is so cool. I remember having the manual actually, and not even having the game yet, because I was a huge wrestling fan, specifically WCW back then. That's so cool to see, and to kind of go down memory lane again. Very interesting. Alright, so we'll back out of the game manual section here. And now we have custom collections here. So let's jump into collection and see what we have. So we can go in here and we can find specific collections for titles. So like all the Zelda games are bundled together. Boxing collection, specific franchises. So all your Donkey Kong games. And if we go in here, let's just see how it looks for Donkey Kong. Again, we're not going to go into every single one of them, but you can play through every single Donkey Kong title right within this collection. So really cool to see, and to also see the evolution of this franchise. So we're going to back out of that one. And let's continue through here. You can see there's actually 38 titles, or excuse me, 38 collections within. So really cool to see how everything is laid out. Sonic the Hedgehog, there's got to be a ton of those. Star Wars, all your Super Mario, all your Tekkens, Terminators, Tetris, WWE versus UFC. Got to jump into that. That's pretty cool there. Never played that game. WrestleFest. Awesome. Now this one doesn't have the Hollywood Hogan versus Stone Cold. Interesting. Okay. So lots of great stuff here. I don't see any UFC though. It said UFC versus, or WWE versus UFC. Don't see any UFC titles in here. I would imagine that there is the UFC game for at least PlayStation or Dreamcast though. Pretty sweet. All the Disney games in here. Let's take a look at Disney games. And then that's going to conclude our tour here. I think we're all the way through this. So all the different versions of Aladdin, A Bug's Life is down here. And because it's a custom collection, you're going to see each title, like this is the N64 version. Up here we have the Game Boy Color version. So it's cool to see the different versions of the same titles. So we will back out now, and next would be just settings. We don't really need to jump into that. It'll just load in all your different settings for this entire setup. So time to jump into some games. The fun part of this video, we're going to just pick a couple random games from a couple different random collections just to test the performance.
for 3. Lucky bounce. Gasol can't get it to go. With the fadeaway move. Sweet. Here's LeBron. Bada bing, bada boom.
Love. Come out, you young.
Alright guys, I know we're going to go over on time here. I always try to keep videos like 7 to 9 minutes in most cases. Tour videos like this where we're going through collection after collection, diving into games too, I try to keep around 25 minutes. I know we're going to be well over 25 minutes here, probably just in the tour portion of this video because it's jam-packed. And when I say jam-packed, I mean jam-packed with games, collections, emulators. We had the game manuals in here, which I got lost in. I tried to not show you guys too much of that on screen, but so many amazing things to explore on here. If you're a retro gamer like me, you are going to absolutely fall in love with everything that's offered here. So now, one thing I do have to criticize Kris CoolMod, who put this together, is the fact that it's called RetroBeast Mini. Mini makes you think of small, right? This is 4 terabytes. 4 terabytes is massive. Now, I'm joking around. I understand why they're calling this Mini, because they have much larger offerings available. And this is the smallest one, in fact, or one of the smallest ones. 4 terabytes, though, is massive. It's not to be taken lightly. It's jam-packed with games. And I've put together a lot of builds in the past, so I know how large some of these games are. PS3, massive games. They take up a lot of space. There's tons and tons of those here included. So 4 terabytes is huge. Just, you know, for those that are just getting into PC emulation, you may not realize how much size is involved here, or you know what 4 terabytes truly is. It's a massive, massive, massive setup here. So just take that in, absorb that, because you know Mini does make people think like, oh, it's, you know, a small offering. It's not. This is not a small offering. It's jam-packed. So anyways, one other thing I want to highlight before I talk about the performance and the experience here overall. Kris CoolMod offers you guys a free update every single month on this setup. So let's say you get this in September, then October 1st rolls around, and there's this new cool update that's going to just kick up the experience tremendously, but hey, you picked it up a month ago, so you're SOL. Not the case here. One-click updates on this build, so you can literally click an update button, get the latest and greatest, and all the performance upgrades right to your hard drive instantaneously for the most part. So really cool that that is offered. I haven't seen that offered anywhere else, so I do want to highlight that. Now let's talk about the performance here and the overall experience. So we jumped into MAME. Love the fact that everything is put together in such a cool way, and the attention to detail on this build is mind-blowing. And I've put together builds like this, so I know what goes into it. Look at the arcade cabinets as you go through each of these collections in MAME. They update to each individual title. So if you go to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, that arcade cabinet is going to be Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It's not just going to show you a generic cabinet with the video preview for that title. The entire cabinet transforms into the cabinet for that specific title. So It's so refreshing to see the attention to detail that was put into this. I know what amount of time that takes, so I want to commend them on what they have done here. Arcade collections here, awesome offerings. Love the layout of everything. It's easy to navigate, and there's tons and tons of sub collections, which for me I love because it just gives me the ability to further explore different things within. I know some people like a more streamlined sort of layout, and you can actually hide the sub collections here. So if you don't want to go through and find like all Midway titles in its own collection or Sega titles in its own collection, etc., you can minimize those or hide those, if you will, so you don't have as many available to you or as many to actually, scroll through. So take that into mind, because I know some people, again, like that streamlined sort of feel to this. I personally don't. I like, all the offerings available, because it's just more ways to find new titles or find titles that I forgot about over the years. So love the experience within arcade. Everything performed great there. I didn't expect any shortcomings and didn't, run into any. So let's talk about home console collections. We've got everything from early Sega and early Nintendo all the way up through Xbox 360 and PS3 and Wii U, I think, was the latest for Nintendo. There's also Switch, but that was in the handheld side of things. Everything performed absolutely amazing, but where I really actually saw some huge optimized differences in the experience was Dreamcast, which Dreamcast can be demanding in that you wouldn't be able to get a really high-end experience out of like a Raspberry Pi or a single board computer, but with a gaming PC, I experienced Dreamcast very well on other platforms too. But take a look at the resolution when I jumped into Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Take a look at how smooth everything was. There was just no issues whatsoever anywhere in the experience there. Just created this absolutely insane experience, in all honesty, where the game actually seemed like it was released like 2 years ago. This is a title that's, I think that was 99 or 2000, probably 2000, so we're talking at least 23 years ago that this game came out. It didn't look like a 23-year-old game as I was playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 here. In fact, I'm going to do a video just of that game here on my channel, because in all honesty, I had probably the best skate run doing that gameplay demo portion here that I've ever had playing that game. So it was just awesome. I didn't make a mistake. I didn't crash and burn. And I attribute that not to my skill there, but to how smooth the controllers are set up here for this particular build, but also to the resolution and overall just optimized performance of the Dreamcast titles here. So I did jump into a lot of different titles for Dreamcast because it is one of my favorites to jump into, but I tried to do just one title in the gameplay demo portion of this video for each of the collections that I chose to display for you guys. So again, Dreamcast, absolutely amazing experience there. Also jumped into GameCube, which was absolutely amazing. N64, which you're always going to have a little bit of pixelation with N64. That one was in 4:3 aspect ratio too. I believe we could change that if we wanted to. It had the bezels. I actually like playing N64 in 4:3 aspect ratio, though. I don't like to stretch that one because I find that N64 just really starts to get pixelated if you try to stretch that or, try to upgrade it a little bit too much. But what else we jump into it? Xbox 360. That is a collection that I have experienced a lot of issues with in the past, and I've played around with emulation for Xbox 360, and it's never been a good experience for me. This is the first time I've had as good of an experience as I did here. Now, not every title is available to us. We have, I don't want to say a limited selection for Xbox 360 because there are a lot of games, but it's a lot of the more simpler titles, if you will. We did have Halo 3 on there. I don't think I included that in the gameplay portion of this video, but Halo 3 performed absolutely fantastic. There's two versions of it as well. There's the regular version and the special edition version. Both that I jumped into were good experiences, but I played NBA Jam here in the gameplay demo portion, and you could see performs absolutely perfect, 100% in line with what you would experience if you grabbed your Xbox 360 console, put that disc in there, and started playing. So we also jumped into PS3. Now, the title that I jumped into in the gameplay demo here, the Juarez Gunslinger game, I forget the full title of that now that I'm on the spot, but that was a title that I actually tried to get up and running on my own setup and just couldn't get it to where it would actually perform on the level that it did here. Now, it's not to say that you don't have a little hiccup here and there. I did see little hiccups once in a while, but still a absolutely phenomenal experience. And most of the PS3 games that I jumped into did have that perfect experience. There are some where it's just, there's some shortcomings here and there, but that's about as advanced as it gets for emulation, Xbox 360 and PS3. So I don't expect it to be 100% flawless all of the time, but the majority of titles perform perfect. So that is also going to depend, though, again, on what you're using this drive with. So it depends on what your PC is capable of. So Wii U, awesome experience there. Didn't have any issues with Wii U at all. Love the selection of titles, love the performance there and how well everything was. What else did we have? We had handhelds. So Switch didn't have like a lot of the more advanced titles either. So it's very similar to that of Xbox 360, where you're going to get some titles, but you're going to get stuff that is much more basic. So it's not going to be the stuff that's really pushing the envelope in terms of performance or is super high demanding, but still good experiences there. I don't know if I showed any of those here in the gameplay demo portion of this, because obviously as I'm talking to you guys, I haven't yet edited what I'm going to include in here, but good experiences there across the board. Then everything else, of course, Game Boy, all that good stuff. Awesome experience, no shortcomings or issues whatsoever there. Excellent resolution. Just really can't, have any issues with anything, really. Pinball. I'm a huge virtual pinball fan. I've talked to you guys in the tour portion of this where I actually have a virtual pinball machine, an actual machine, and therefore I'm very familiar with that of the different virtual options here. So to be able to play them, though, with a controller was actually an awesome experience. I've always thought, like, why would people want to play pinball on like a gamepad controller? And I had never actually played it before. So playing a few titles here, it's a really great experience. It really is. It's awesome to be able to play like Jurassic Park or some of those like Alien ones or Predator. Really cool interactive pinball experience, and to play on the controller with the rumble and everything that you get is awesome. It just brings you right into the gameplay experience. And check out the Star Wars ones if you do get this. The Star Wars pinball tables are absolutely amazing on here. You don't have to be a Star Wars fan to enjoy them. I know a lot of people that play those and are not Star Wars fans. I happen to be a Star Wars fan, but check those out. You'll thank me later. Now we also have the strategy guides on there too, that you can literally flip through the pages and just scroll through the entire books right there on your screen, which was cool for me, especially with WCW NWO Revenge, which I showed you guys for N64. That was a game that I didn't play right away, but I remember flipping through the strategy guide and being mad that I didn't have an N64 to actually enjoy that game with at the time that it first came out. So I remember going through that book all the time at like Toys R Us as a kid, flipping through the pages and seeing all the pictures. And I was a huge wrestling fan at the time too, so it was just a good experience and brought me back to that, just to be able to flip through those pages, in the actual with the controller on the screen. So very cool experience there as well. Now you can make settings adjustments. You can custom tailor this to your preferences as well. You can change the theme. You can change, audio. You can do tons and tons of settings adjustments with this build as well. In all honesty, I don't know why you would want to, because it's pretty damn perfect right out of the gate. But for those that want to tweak things and make adjustments, certainly have the ability to do so there. But that's pretty much everything, or it's actually, in all honesty, it's not even close to everything, but I can't make this video 2 days long. I couldn't say enough nice things about this, though. The attention to detail, though, is mind-blowing. The performance that you get here is unmatched anywhere else, so I just honestly am at a loss for any sort of negative spin on anything here. It's just absolutely phenomenal in every way. I stand by it. I support it. Really mind-blowingly amazing. So highly recommend it. I'll put some links down in the description of this video so you guys can get additional information. Also check out the Discord for Kris CoolMod and the YouTube channel, because he's got some amazing stuff on YouTube, not just for emulation but retro gaming in general. definitely check out the YouTube channel, and I'll put a link actually up at the top of your screen to the Kris CoolMod YouTube channel. But also, again, check the description. You're going to find a lot of great stuff down there. So that's going to do it for today, though. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up on the video. It's a huge help to me here on YouTube as I try to expand things and grow. But also, hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all those future videos that'll be coming out right here on the Retro Gaming Guy YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.